today we're talking about DSP2 and open banking. So I'm based in Ireland, and this is also a very relevant topic in Ireland. And we did this last month, and so over there it's called PSD2, but obviously it's the same issues. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to get the panel to explain the context of why they're here and why they're experts and they have interesting insights, and then we're going to walk through the current state of play, and then what we could expect to see in the future. So first of all, each of my panelists is just going to say briefly who you are and what your field of strength is. So first of all, you, Philippe.
Good morning. My name is Philippe Tisserin. I'm the marketing manager and conformity at WHA, an Orange subsidiary, an electronic division. And compared to the presentation that has been done, we are interested in the payment initiation aspects. So for people who are looking for a number 7 service in France, we think that the service is already well served on the aggregation side, but we believe that the initiation aspect needs to be improved.
So, first of all, I would like to apologize for my English. I will try to answer in English, but maybe I will have to switch in French if it's too difficult for me to express myself. So, I'm Marc Lanvin, I'm CEO of Banque Casino. Well, who is Banque Casino? Banque Casino is a French bank specialized on payment facilities. We are a leader here in France. Nobody knows, but we are a leader on the installment payment market. We provide customers with credit cards. We have 700,000 cardholders here in France, and we process 4 billion, nearly 4 billion. We will process this year almost 4 billion payment and 2 billion loans in France. We are involved in B2C market, and also we have great partnership with e-commerce companies such as Cdiscount, Oscaro.com, Mille Pneus, Select. We are very strong on the travel market with Selectour, Mr. Fly, Pierre et Vacances, here in Bordeaux with Loisirs en Cher. And we have launched in 2017 mini instant loan, which is very original, and we provide now great fintech in France, such as Lydia last year, and banking we launched a few days ago. So we are very active, and we are very well. We have a very big growth here in France, more than 30% for 3 years, and we expect to have next year. We are achieving our budget to have also more than 30% growth next year. So we are very attentive of what is happening on the European market.
Okay, great, merci. Sophie,
Thank you. Hello, Simon, and hello, everybody. So my name is Sophie Guibault. I am currently Chief Growth Officer of a startup based in London whose name is OpenPaid. OpenPaid provides payments and FX facilities to SMEs. We believe it's an underserved market, and basically we provide access to banking to them through an open API platform. So I'm here in that context, as well as in my previous position context. I was MD for Fidor. Fidor that was acquired 2 years ago by BPCE, and which was one of the first organization releasing a sandbox and an open banking philosophy in the market back in 2011.
Cool, merci. Monsieur?
Hello everyone. Sorry. Hello everyone. So I'm Frederick Boy. I'm the CEO of WithMe, and I'm here today because we are one of the digital partners of banks and insurance companies in France, and we are helping them go through these PSD2 hustles. And we are one of the main digital partners of AXA. Which is also one of the shareholders of the company. But I'm also here to talk about one of our new projects, which is coming soon. I thought I was going to be able to announce it officially in this event, but that's not quite ready yet. We're waiting for the official agreement from the ACPR, which is the French regulation authority here. So we are going to be hopefully a new AI ASP on the market with the idea to provide small businesses and tier 2, tier 3 financial companies with aggregation platform, with a PFM platform that will be 100% DSP2 compliant, 100% legal, no web scraping. But we're going to talk about this a little later on.
Merci.
Hi everyone, I'm Patrice Bernard. I'm the CTO co-founder of a very early stage company which is named Kera Technology, which was part of the Fin&Tech Masters yesterday, and we hope we will win this afternoon. I'm also, and this is why I'm here actually, the author of a blog on financial innovation in France, which is called C'est pas mon idée, where I share my vision of what will become of banking and insurance in the next 10, 20 years.
Cool, merci. So my next question is, for all of you, will be either, are you ready, how close are you to ready, or how soon will you be ready? And then for those that are speaking from a more industry perspective, then maybe just more, how close do you think we, the French market, are in general? So we'll start with you. Are you guys ready? Where are you? Est-ce que tu prêt?
Monsieur Dupré? To be honest, no one here is expecting the French market, I'm speaking only for the French market, to be ready. I am a member of the FEPAM, the Payment Services, Payment Establishment Association, and we integrated earlier this year members of the TPP within our office, and we also implemented a monitoring group for all French services who are mainly aggregating services at the moment, and as well as banks who are following everything that is going on. So there is ongoing work and lots of efforts putting out there. So it will eventually arrive, and there are also other solutions. These are important so that services that are currently operating will continue to operate as soon as API will become mandatory. As for payment initiation, we will have to be patient. It seems to be falling a bit behind at the moment.
Well, I think it would be a mistake to say that we are ready, but we are ready to be ready. So we are awaiting of what is going to happen on the market. And the point is, our DNA is to be in the present market, very close to consumer. As a subsidiary of a retailer, we are focused on what are the behaviors of the consumers on a daily basis. So we are observing what they want, what they are doing at the present moment, but we don't know what would be the future in the next 10 years. The only thing I can do is that we are technically ready. We are providing a lot of actors with APIs, especially on e-commerce and fintechs activities. It's much more easier for us because we are dedicated on the loan market, so we are specialized. And I would say on this basis we are ready, but on the global banking market, we are waiting on what would be the new behaviors of consumer in France next year.
Yeah, so pragmatic. Cool. Sophie?
Yeah, so I think I would like to pick up on what actually Mark just said. So I think like all the reports we see that indeed banks are not yet ready. So for a few reasons. First one is that they were not ready really with any open API banking strategy, basically. So that's the first thing. On one side, because of legacy systems that are quite difficult to move forwards. And also potentially like cultural problems, difficulty to actually make people think in the whole organization on open banking strategy and the benefits it can bring. So essentially, I don't think banks are not ready at the moment. But what I would say is that I don't think it's worth going to the market before they are fully ready and use fallback solutions, because in the end, customers or consumers are not expecting it because they don't realize what it will bring them. So it would be better to bring to wait for a better experience, essentially, than actually go in the market with some solutions that are not the smoothest.
Oh, good point, Messi. Frederic?
I definitely agree. I mean, you get like 50 shades of gray. I mean, you go from light gray to dark gray in terms of readiness. And from what we see from the field, from the market, you have, that's what Sophie just said, a problem of culture. You have companies, even large companies in France, which are ready because it's in their culture. They know that account information, they don't own account information. It's the property of their customers. They know that from the beginning, some of them. And some are still in the old view, and they think everything belongs to them, and they're not, even the word open, they're not ready to hear the word open. So open API and stuff like that, they're not really ready. So it goes from one company to another. You have very, very different situations. But the regulation is here, they have to do with it, and it's going forward for the next 10 years like this, and I would say in 10 years everything will be converted to the open API system, but it's going to take some time, I guess.
Okay, cool, Messi. Patrice?
Okay, so I would like to put a little perspective on the topic, and especially on the DSP2, which for me is not a subject. It should not be a subject. It should be something which should actually be so natural that we wouldn't be speaking about it. Because if you look at the past, account aggregation exists. It was already existing in the last century. Actually, Yodlee was set up in 1998 or so something like that. You can see also on open banking more widely. There were pioneers in this field, and in France we had the first bank which opened APIs in 2011. Which is 8 years back. My point, and you can multiply the examples like this. My point is, when you look at what is open APIs and open banking and what mandates the DSP2, it shouldn't be a regulatory topic. And I'm really disappointed because I thought that because it was mandatory, it was become an obligation for the banks imposed by the European law, they would realize what is the potential of open banking. And the fact is they are late because not only because of technical problems, but they are late, the banks are late because they just don't get what open banking is and what it will be, how it will be very important, will be essential for banking in the next years. I think in 2030, maybe, if you haven't understood open banking today, you will not exist anymore.
Cool. So this is good, and like with the interview we did with you about how this will be invisible, okay? So my next question, we're going to begin with you, but we'll come back to all of you, which is, this is the boring bit, right? So what's exciting, yeah? So like you say, it shouldn't just be about compliance, it should be about the opportunities. So just starting from you, and let's come back and tell people where you see the opportunities are, please.
Okay, so let's start with today. The opportunities that should be self-evident for any bank is that open banking is just about opportunities. It's just not about regulation. And I'm still surprised when I work in some banks and they still tell me, Patrice, what is it can be used for? What's good? What is it good at? What can we do with open banking? We don't see this as an advantage. We just see this as an obligation that will give some advantage to the GAFAs. We will have to provide them with data, and this is not fair. And they don't realize, like, for instance, when they talk, and all the banks in France and everywhere in the world, they are talking about how they are eager to work with fintechs, and they don't realize that to work with fintechs, they should have APIs everywhere in their systems, and just not about opening the information on their account of their accounts of their clients, but everything should be APIfied already. And so if you go further in the future, you see that today customers are having or are opening accounts or having multiple relationships with a variety of actors from banks. Multiple accounts in different banks are more and more common among consumers. You have various electronic wallets. You have maybe an account at a robo-advisor. You are having multiple relationships with multiple actors. And so very soon, the consumer will ask for some platforms which are capable of aggregating these services, and not only aggregating the information from these accounts, like Linkso or banking are doing today, but also being able to act on these accounts. And this notion of platform will be only possible with APIs, and APIs to access the accounts and the information on the accounts, but also to do some operations, and not only payments, any kind of operations. And so if you go further, you realize that this kind of platform will become the center of the relationship with the customer. And this relationship will be enriched, and this is where all the advice will happen. And it will not be in the bank anymore. At least if the bank doesn't realize that it should be a platform itself. And you can go a little further, and you think that this platform, at the end, it doesn't have a meaning. It should not exist anyway, because when you are transacting with a bank, when you are opening an account where you are trying to get a loan, any kind of operation, this is not something which is interesting for anyone. This is something which is just an enabler for a project. And so my view, I'm convinced this will happen very, very soon, and much sooner than we think, is that the financial service will happen in the context of the project we have. When you want to buy a home, you know today you have to go to a bank to get the loan, but this makes no sense. This should come within your customer journey buying a home. Not having a customer journey with a banker, which makes no sense. Cool. And so this will be the era of the invisible banking, which will happen, I guess, in 20, 30 years, but it already exists in some form. And I like a recent example, which is BBVA, which has dealt with Uber in Mexico, where you see the banking services from BBVA are embedded in the Uber driver experience.
Yeah, it's integrated, yeah.
And this is an example of pure invisible banking, because the driver for Uber is only concerned about driving and about getting everything he needs in the Uber application. And so the bank comes into this experience as well.
Okay.
And this will be the future.
Cool, thank you. So, Frederic, what are your opportunities?
I mean, Patrice is really, he's hit the point. It's all about customer relationship, really. It's not about regulation. And I was listening to Jim Mauer's talk yesterday, and it was very interesting because he was telling about his consumer experience and the way he related to his bank. And he said that he had only his bank account, it only uses it for his PayPal account. And his bank knows nothing about him, but he trusts PayPal, and he expects from PayPal to give him financial advices. Okay. And it's all about trust. It's all about even sympathy. So it's really about a customer relationship, and they have to be really aware of the what the customer in the end expects from them, and that's what's going to be the difference. And I guess that's the point of Patrice. I mean, if you trust your Uber driver, then you can trust the bank that he works with. So it's about trust, it's about sympathy and customer experience to me.
Cool, merci. Sophie.
Yeah, so jumping back on what Patrice was saying, I agree, but I would like to provide another outlook of opportunities for banks, actually, because, the future could be a platform and will most likely be a platform, but there should also be some points of aggregations around brands, right? And actually, open banking also, for me, represents the opportunity for banks to remain the platform of their customers, the platform where they go for their finances, but for other things. And basically, if banks don't realize that, they will become done pipes, I really believe. And open banking is really the opportunity to provide aggregation services, but also build new services based on data from third-party providers. And if banks focus on providing a better customer experience, designing the products that their customers expect based on the data of third party, they really have a play in becoming and remaining like the platform where their customers go. And I think we jump back to the trust thing, because people actually trust banks, and that's the play they can do. So there is like the invisible banking play, which is to collaborate with a lot of companies, which will be one side, but I believe there is another side where they could as well, and not it's not either or, it's ends, focus on a niche target market, which is theirs, and provide the experience customers expect.
Cool, merci. Mark?
Well, I like this concept of invisible banking. I'm a bank, so it's difficult to speak, but as a small bank and a growing bank, we feel that DSP2 is a great opportunity, and what is happening here in Europe is a great opportunity for dynamics banks. But I think the key point is the customer experience. We became the leader in installment payment just because Cdiscount asked us to make a 4-time payment as easier as a 1-time payment. And we invented a process with no forms. And the customer followed us. And the key point is how would we be able to make an invisible, very easy experience for customers. I'm not sure it's a question of trust. Bank, they trust their bank. I think it's really a question of experience, customer experience.
It's almost trust, and sometimes trustless, that you don't even need to trust because it's just done right, which is a kind of antitrust almost.
Yes, I'm not sure I will be able to explain what I want to say in English, but c'est aussi une question d'irritant. C'est pas qu'une question de confiance.
Not just about trust, it's about being annoyed by the bank, and now customers who are unhappy, they just change service provider. Simon, I would like to add one aspect to what has been just said. It should not be about regulation, but about customer experience. When we found a service that is very attractive, why sticking with the old one? And there is also a point I would like to make. When we work in a regulated world, profit is important, and using API is cost effective. That's an advantage as well, and that's why we at WHA, we are working on payment initiation, because it is reducing costs at all levels. There is maybe an old-fashioned concept that was mentioned again and again in business schools, is competition, and how competition can help a market grow. As we start using API, we are avoiding costs for all actors on the supply chain. And if I take an example, in payments, there are three main actors: the seller bank and the buyers, and in between there may be an intermediary. But they are avoiding costs. So no interchange to pay. The money comes directly to the seller bank and at no costs. As for the PSP, it does not deal with further data, just the money. So this reduces costs as well, and reducing costs will be at the heart of
you're talking about the future, right?
progress.
So now, if it all goes well, if you achieve your goals over the next 2 years, what does good, très bien, look like in 2 to 3 years' time? Like, if it all works, where could we be in 3 years' time, and what would good be? We'll start with you, Philippe.
As I just said, we want to integrate payment initiation in all our products. We have a range of products based on APIs. We are on a B2B basis, so we offer them, our clients, to use API. We offer this service, we like to use this, and we want to offer it to our partners as well, be it for money entering, API for an e-commerce, which is called Compte EDO. We want to offer the merchant the possibility to get the payment through credit card, but also to pay via bank transfer. That would be nice, and we would like to introduce APIs to other products, in particular API Money that we're promoting here at the summit, as we offer to receive money, solutions to receive
Mark,
money. This would be interesting.
Well, I think we have a lot of job during next 2 years, especially speaking about installment payment. Only 60% of retailers are équipés, have an installment payment solution, and it's not true in stores. For instance, we have a lot of job to bring installment payment, easy installment payment in stores. We are working on this, but it's more difficult to bring it in stores. So we have a lot of job to do in the next 2 years. And as we are having a big growth and big success, well, we think about other European countries, of course.
Cool, yeah. Exciting. Sophie?
So yeah, so much maybe more macro ideas, but in 3 years' time, it would be great to be able to do account initiation when you do your you buy stuff online for sure. It would be great to have a better view on your finances because you can import your data on whichever platform you want. It would be great to have more comparison services of financial products to make sure that I don't pay too much. Yeah, so like it would just be great to see like consumers are starting getting it. They don't need to understand what open banking is, but it would just be great that they see this evolution and more competition in the market, which is the idea of PSD2. So,
merci.
Yeah, in 2 years' time, hopefully, each and every one of us will be aware that account information has a value, and it's your own property, and you get to choose who's gonna provide you with financial advice. It may not be your bank, it may be your bank, but you should be able to choose, for example, if you have a small health insurance company, you have your asset management company that you trust, you should be able to trust them to give you financial advisory based on your account information. So that's why we believe that the AISP status we're going to get, with that we'll be able to involve small companies, like I said, health insurance companies, asset management companies, and at the moment they cannot afford aggregation solutions, which are really expensive. They cannot afford to be in the game and provide financial advices to their customers. So hopefully, in 2 years' time, every one of us will be free to choose which actor we trust to give us financial advices.
Merci.
Okay, so for me, I will talk about what I envision for Keira technology in the next 3 years, let's say. And it's very simple. We are users of open APIs and open banking, of course. And our vision is that in 3 years, 3 years from now, we will have started reinventing financial advice. Meaning that when you look at banks today and you look at financial services today, and it's the same in the insurance sector, you don't have any advice really anymore. Financial advice has mostly disappeared because in the branch you only get transaction mostly. You have advisors, but they are not. I'm sorry, but they are not very competent. And anyway, you don't want to see them. On your apps, on your mobile apps, on your website, you just have mostly transactions. It enables transactions. You don't get any advice. And so the objective for Keira is to reinvent the financial advice through aggregating account information, aggregating account services, and recreating this notion of advising the client, knowing who he is or who she is, and understanding their needs, their expectation, how they react to what we can suggest, and make them feel much better with their money. And in 10 years, we hope we will have taken over the banks with this.
Merci. Luis, I was going to get them just to give a quick tip to the audience as a takeaway. Yeah?
S'il y a des questions, if you have any questions of this subject in the audience, quelqu'un veut poser une question dans l'audience? Moi, j'ai été rhabillé, moi je suis un acteur de la finance traditionnelle, j'ai été rhabillé par le panel, là, puisque j'ai compris que je donnais aucun conseil, qu'on faisait que des transactions et tout. Merci, Patrice. Des questions? Moi, autrement, j'en ai une. Hein. J'en ai une, c'était simplement... pourquoi on a fait ce panel? To understand why we wanted to have this panel. We think that the delay is a very bad signal. Le fait qu'il y ait un délai, qu'on demande encore un délai pour l'application de DSP2, c'est un très mauvais signal. It's a signal for fear. Banks are fearing DSP2. C'est-à-dire que les banques ont peur qu'on se connecte sur leur compte pour prendre les informations. Je vous renvoie à un article que j'ai écrit sur le blog de l'événement.
So on the blog of this event, there is a post which sums this up. This general feeling, the feeling is that there is a bank in France which has understood that, and their partners here, they have understood that they have to make the data available and they have to help in the use of the data. So the advice I would give today is that you should accompany that change because your clients will be loyal. So we are trying to
the world's changing, and you can stay at the old world and the old-fashioned way to transact and to make finance. So it's a conclusion. If you allow me, the conclusion. For the bankers, I know there's bankers in this room, and on a des banquiers, ils sont venus eux-mêmes, c'est pas leur banque qui leur a demandé de venir, ils ont dit non mais il faut qu'on aille prendre les sujets. Merci Michel. Et prenez, voilà, faites pousser ces API, ces API pour que justement accompagnez vos clients. It's the only way to bring them to the new world of financial investment. Et vous avez sur le panel vraiment des avis qui ont été très constructifs sur cette question-là. Donc, je remercie beaucoup Simon et tous les panélistes et je pense que vous pouvez les applaudir ce matin. Merci beaucoup. Et